My guest today is one of the brightest minds in our industry. He's an independent consultant, helping shops nationwide with mosaic software, CNCs, CNC machining, workflow, manufacturing, checklists, you name it. He's an expert in MDF door manufacturing and recently has embraced closets as small shops start to embrace this once overlooked area of the home and are starting to take it on themselves, as they should. You can find out a lot more about him and his services at phillanton.com. That's Phil with two L's. I'm happy to share my conversation with my friend, Mr. Phill Anton. Is there you want to take any cheap shots at my background before we start?
The brick wall?
Yeah, the prison, as you call it,
It's
behind
too
me.
easy. It's the lighting for me too. It's the fluorescent lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those listening, after every episode, sometime later that day, Phil texts me and takes a jab at my background and my lighting.
I have to shame you for something at least like once every 2 weeks, whether it's tooling related or podcast related now.
I'm sorry I don't have a terrarium like you do next to you. But you'll be happy to know we've decided to remodel our home. So in about 2 months, I'll actually have a real office and brick wall's going away. So
is that a real brick wall or a fake one?
It is real brick. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a fake one.
No, this is like our kind of downstairs. There's actually a fireplace right there.
Yeah.
My little makeshift office.
Amazing. Excited for your upgrade.
Thank you. It's all due to you. So appreciate it.
Putting the pressure on.
Yeah. Thanks for being here today, man. You and I talk all the time, but we don't talk that in depth about lots of things. So it's going to be a fun episode. I think we should start with how you and I met, and then we'll get into your origin story. I don't know a ton about the background either, but we met here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. You were working for a shop called Designed and Made at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure Brian Grabsky, shout out to Brian, one of the most talented people ever. He won't listen to this, but
amazing.
That would have been what, 2020, maybe, like 5 years ago.
I believe so. Yeah, sometime around then. Yeah.
And you were kind of running the shop, but you were also the CAD CAM guy, right? You were doing all the weird stuff in Fusion and Rhino.
Yeah.
How did all that stuff start?
I guess kind of my background, I've never owned a cabinet shop. I started just being a cabinet maker, right? So I got my undergraduate degree in plant biology and global resource systems, and I decided to become a cabinet maker like right after that. I worked in the oil fields for a few months, then I did flat work for a concrete company. All while this was happening, I was, nowadays it would be called harassment, but I was calling this cabinet shop every other week on a Friday to tell them that I was still interested in a job because I really wanted to be a cabinet maker. And
what drew you to it so early? Why was that the thing?
It was the plant biology background. So it wasn't pot related, it was carnivorous plant related. So tropical plants, that was like one of my first passions in life was hobbyist horticulture with carnivorous plants. That got me into it. So I was building growth chambers, basically, controlled environments for plants. So I was like, well, I want to be a cabinet maker. So that's what I did.
Interesting.
That's how it started. So I started at a non-CNC shop, doing the classic build drawer boxes, sweep the floor, worked in the finishing booth, install, which is, I didn't know it at the time, but these are all fantastic starters for woodworking. Like no CNC, very lucky to start in a non-CNC shop. Very few can say that nowadays, like fewer and fewer, right? But I worked for that shop for 3 years in Eastern Iowa, and then I moved up to Minneapolis. So that's where I got started into CNC work, right?
I see.
So
did you go straight to Designed and Made?
Yeah, straight to Designed and Made. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's another one in there for a couple months, but basically Designed and Made. And They had just gotten the CNC machine, 4x8 Holzer, 6 tool changer, no auto touch off for the tool height. So that's why I'm that's where all of my troubleshooting skills come from, was working with that
Yep.
CNC. It was good, but it was a used machine, right? 2002 or 2003,
Yep.
and it was a good machine, but we had issues with it. So the only way we could figure it out, we didn't have a Nic Frost or a Phill Anton, or you know, we we didn't have any of that. So we just learned on our own,
Hmm.
and that was, I mean, I just took off with the CNC. When I got that in my hands, and I'm the only one running this thing, and my first thing to do with Fusion 360 actually was, what do you do when you start a new CAM software? You cut out a rectangle, and you cut a
Hmm.
hole in that rectangle, and then you inscribe something, right? Engrave something.
Yep.
And from there, it was all just my science background is, it's like trial and error, right? It's just exciting, to learn about feed rates and speeds, and learn why these parts are flying off the machine, and learn why I'm breaking bits, and you know
Yep.
all of that. And it was a fun learning experience. Yeah.
What year was that? What year did you come up here?
It would have been 2015 or 2016.
Okay, so like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Did you have any 3D modeling CAD CAM experience prior to that? You just cold turkey right in Fusion and
Cold
off you go?
turkey. Cold turkey. So at my previous shop, right before I left, there was we had, like, I think it was the original version of Mosaic. I never touched it, but we had the original version, and we had one of the first versions of Fusion as well,
Hmm.
and kind of a starter CNC. I never got to touch that really, but yeah. So when I showed up at Design and Made in Minneapolis, it was, we just, I had no experience. I had only built cabinets, right? And we were doing wild things there. So that
Hmm.
was high-end architectural millwork and cabinetry. The things that Brian and Lily were able to come up with were incredible, just next level. Some of it almost uncomfortable, right? Because it's like thinking into the future. It's
Yep.
not, some of it wasn't standard at all.
Well, and I think right now I would encourage anyone listening to go find, go Google Design and Made,
Yeah.
find their Instagram account. I don't know how much is up there these days, Brian, but
He's probably
uh,
got at least 12 photos up there out of the
yeah, like
thousands.
go look at some of this stuff that Phil's talking about, because it is truly like you just don't see much like it
Yeah.
anywhere. So,
Yeah, definitely.
um,
But
and is that what kind of drew you to come up, like seeing what some of the stuff they were doing?
yeah, actually, I was sitting on my lunch break trying to think of my next move, and I think I probably put in, like, great woodworkers in Minneapolis or something, because I had a buddy up there,
Yeah.
and I saw Brian Grabsky came up 40 under 40
I
just
see.
recently. I saw the article, so I was like, that's where I'm going. So I've made some pretty weird pivots in my career, but I just attach myself basically to the first idea that it feels good on, feels good
Hmm.
about, and I just go for it. So I went
Yep.
for it, and it ended up working out for me. But yeah.
I would say so. Um, Interesting. And so we met, once you were there in like 2020, and then
Yeah.
didn't have much communication, very periodic. And then I think this was 2023 in February. Uh, you had gone to Chicago, right? A different position.
Yeah, yeah, but do you remember before that though? Do you remember the one thing that, like when I look back and I'm like, that's why Nic Frost was impressed by what I was doing at Design and Made.
Oh God, let me think about that.
It's something very random, and I've held on to it. But you
Was it
came
was
into
it
it.
the small little thing that you did for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember what this was. I think. All right. So
Yeah.
I was doing this was after I had closed my shop, and I was doing a small project, and I needed some Rift White Oak grain match slab stuff edge
Mhm.
banded.
Mhm.
Is this the right story?
This
Is
is
this what
exactly what I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
And you asked Are these upper doors or base doors? Which edge needs to be edge banded first? What are you
Mhm.
going to see the most? I
Yeah,
think is what
just
basically the question was.
upper or base. Yeah,
Yep.
and you were like, you smiled at me because you were like, yeah, he knows.
Yep. He gets it. He knows. That
Yeah.
is true. I do remember that now. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I mean, obviously, with the stuff you were doing in Fusion too, it was very
Mhm.
obvious that
Yeah, right. It
this is
wasn't
not
just
a
my edge banding knowledge.
no. It's not a normal cabinet shop guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but then so you moved on to Chicago at some point there, and then I got a call from you in I think this was February of 23.
Yep.
And I remember this like it was yesterday because I was actually in a parking lot of a little lunch spot in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in the middle of a 2-week on-site spree across the South.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, um, I just met up with Ori Turner
Cool.
in Tuscaloosa.
Mhm.
And I was sitting there and I got a call from you,
Yeah.
and you had moved. But you were kind of asking, do you remember much about that conversation?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So I had your number in my phone already because, a year before that, remember we saw each other randomly at that grocery store, and you were talking
Oh,
to me
yeah.
about just you had one of your first customers, I think, when you were, training
Yep.
with Mosaic,
That's
and
right.
so that's what stuck in my mind that okay, Nick is consulting, right? So
Yep.
yeah, when I moved to Chicago, I was approached by someone back in Minneapolis just to do some side work, right, through Fusion 360
Mm-hmm.
or Alpha Cam or however we could figure it out, right?
Yep.
And I didn't know how to price it, so I called you, and you're like, "Well, here's how you price it." And
That's right. And basically, what I told you is learn Mosaic. I
yeah,
said, get a
yeah,
copy of Mosaic today. If you're
mhm,
thinking about going down this road, there's a tremendous need for smart people like
mhm,
you who are, have the skill set you have, being in the cabinet shops for as long as you have, but also very techy, and you get it. There's just not that many out there, and
yeah,
uh, and I basically said, learn it now because there's a need for more of what I'm doing, me
mhm,
personally. Um, and so you did, thankfully, good for
yep,
you.
I did.
Uh, and by summer or September after that, you were kind of fully ingrained in Mosaic, and
Yeah, so bought Mosaic, I think maybe I don't know March or April or something, and I got CAD made, of course, and I watched a
yeah,
few episodes of those. I kind of just like I let it sit for a little bit, and then I realized, the shop I was working at in Chicago, they needed a drafts person as well on Mosaic, and I got on the forums, of course,
mm-hmm.
and it was, just hyper learning, right? Just throwing
Yep.
myself into it.
Well, because I think what's interesting is even though you've got a lot of that background, you
Yeah,
were not the Cabinet Vision user at
hmm,
Designed and Made or any of so
yeah,
you were not a cabinet software user.
hmm,
You were a 3D modeling and
exactly.
CAM software user. So it really was kind of starting fresh.
Yeah, the path was really interesting, right? Like starting in manufacturing, focusing really on process and like manufacturing checklists and managing people out in the shop, right? And then I'm thrown into this mosaic world, which seems really easy, but which it is simple to learn, but if you want to go deep, right? You want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to answer everyone's questions. You want to be able to teach others. There is
Whole
there
nother
is
level.
a whole nother level, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I my first customer was Brian Parker down in Florida. I don't know if you remember him.
I do remember Brian. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he's the man. And anyways, so it was, you started with a couple customers, just helping guys out, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the well, yeah, it's just the hyper learning.
Yep.
You're thrown into it, and you want so badly for those guys to succeed. So it's not just the hour call that you're on. It's the all right, what are we going to cover beforehand, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're studying. I
Mm-hmm.
probably studied 1 hour for each 1 hour session I had from then
Yep.
on out for quite a while, right? Because if you ask anybody training in Mosaic, any of the Mosaic trainers, I'm sure they'll be the first to tell you when they started training and then 6 months and 12 months later, completely different users, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah,
skill
for
set
sure.
is just crazy different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
That's I think that's a really important point, because I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to say, "Man, that was fast, right? You basically didn't touch it, and 4 months later, you were consulting people with it."
Yeah.
And the reality is it's not about being in something for a decade. It's not about all of those things. It's about, can you provide value to that person at that time? And if the answer is continually yes, then
Yeah.
you are a successful consultant. I mean, that's the base. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take you to get out of your own head about being newer to the scene? And
I I actually, so I kind of embraced it. I never really talked about it much, but I didn't talk about it with anyone. I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I just started using Mosaic, right? It
yeah,
doesn't
oh yeah,
sound right.
no,
Um, but it's the mentality behind it, right? So I I learned Mosaic the same way I learned everything else. I was very passionate about it, and I put twice as many hours as any human should put into something. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners, they have something in their life where, well, it's classic, right? With cabinet makers, you're
hmm
going to find a lot of workaholics and a lot of guys that are just gung
amen.
ho about, doing what they're passionate about. And Mosaic, CAM, CNC, helping shops, achieve more with their software. That's what it was all about. So just answering questions on the forum,
It's
doing,
addicting, isn't it? Once you get a few people and you're like, you see the results and they're
yeah,
happy and
it's
they're making more
crazy.
money and their businesses are growing. It's like,
Hmm.
it is the most addicting damn thing ever.
It is.
Yeah.
And on the flip side too, right? It can be, you know, you have to find that sweet spot of how much training you want to do per day too. It's like, well, you start at 6 and then 8, and then the calls start rolling in, and now you're doing 12 hours of Zoom a day. 12 hours of Zoom. You know exactly what that's like.
I
And
do. I
yeah.
remember, I think you had done your first like 6 hour day or 8 hour day. And I think my
Mm.
response was, that's cute. Uh, and yeah, because in the heart of it,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
it was, I would literally wake up at 6 a.m. I had my first call at 7 a.m. Central, and the last one was at 7 p.m. Central, all
Mhm.
day long. No break, no lunch break. Um, Dude,
Yeah, the lunch,
did that
kiss
for
the
way
lunch
too
goodbye.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would schedule someone I knew right around lunchtime so I could like eat a sandwich while we were doing something,
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
appear weird. But yeah, so how do you find that balance, man? Do you feel like you have it now, or closer to it now?
Yeah, so I learned from you, you're like one of my
Oh man.
mentors as far as training. So, sometimes you learn what not to do from people and also what to do. So
Amen.
in your case, I remember you telling me like I love this, but I'm doing too much per day, right? You're
Hmm.
burning out a little bit from doing too much training.
Hmm.
So, my natural route is, I basically always work towards burnout, not on purpose, and I'm working to fix that. But that's just how I learned. I learned young. You work hard, achieve your goals, make a 5-year goal and achieve it in 1 year if you can, right? And I feel
Hmm.
like unknowingly, a lot of business owners actually do that. Even if they're not writing down their goals, they're achieving more and more. Um, but you ask about balance. That's important, right? Because you can work 100 hours a week, but it starts to take a toll on everything else.
Hmm.
So now I schedule 6 hours a day of Zoom, and then you know I I always take how it goes. I have customers that are, you know they're all awesome customers, but I have some that have been around longer than others, and they know they can, hit me
Hmm.
up if they need some urgent training. So I'll do
Hmm.
that. I'll save an hour or two. And sometimes it just gets to the point where I can't even, I can't even really say yes to that. So that's the point where I know, okay, you can't do more than eight a day, because there's
Hmm.
other things to do too, right? And you got a family and
For
a
sure.
life, and no weekend work. Try to do that. It doesn't work too well when you're developing libraries, but
Yep. I was gonna
um,
say, good luck with that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, what if you had to guess on average? how many emails, text messages, messenger messages,
Mhm.
voicemails, and phone calls you get on a given day. What do you think that number is?
Like, yeah, unique reach outs or contacts from like, let's one is one person and minimum 20. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's probably average 20 to 40.
Yep.
And then worst day, I was doing an on-site with Chris down in Florida. I had to count them. I got almost 70 like in one day, right? And I have no frame of reference besides zero from my
Mm-hmm.
previous job, right? Like
Right.
zero people.
Yep.
So now I'm going 20 to 40 or 70 and it's pretty wild. Yeah.
It's a lot. I think that's something that I don't want this to sound like we're complaining because I certainly am not. But I think that's
Hmm.
something a lot of people don't quite realize when they shoot us a quick message or a quick text. Like we love to
Yeah.
help, but
Hmm.
it is one of like 30 or 40 that you have
Yeah.
to fit in a normal workday
Yeah.
outside of because you're not really setting aside time for those, right? And
Hmm.
but you also don't want to leave people hanging who have trusted in you. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a catch-22 at some point with your time, and
Hmm.
it's difficult. Do you feel like how do you set those? Do you try to set those boundaries? Like, because we're so
It,
accessible, right? With social media,
yeah.
everyone can send you a message at any moment.
Yeah.
Um, how do you handle that Saturday night message, Sunday morning early?
Yeah.
Um,
It's such a great community too, though. It's because I'm not running a tooling company now, right? So I think you receive maybe some more, um, late night messages or, hey, why did this tool do that? I wasn't expecting
mhm,
that. Most of the shops or the guys that reach out are they have pretty good boundaries. I've never had to fire anyone. Maybe like one or two,
really?
Yeah, one or two maybe that was just, it's not working out just because pushing it too much, not respecting my time. But
Yep.
I love the messages on Facebook, text messages, if you have my number, it's totally fine. Everyone knows that I will respond if I can. And if I don't, no one is butthurt about it. So you get the
Yep.
other side of that when you get a little some customers that are upset because they don't know you personally, maybe because they just bought tooling from you. They don't know
Yep.
you.
Hmm.
So they feel like, you know, well, I bought this tool, so now I get a piece of your time.
Right.
And, you
Which to
know,
some degree is true, right? We have to support
yeah.
our product,
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah.
and we do, and but it's interesting because even with tooling, people I don't know, will message me on a Saturday at 3,
Yeah.
asking a question about tooling, and
Yeah.
I always have to catch myself because at the time, early on, I would reply back immediately. I was so
Hmm.
excited about where things were going, and I
Yeah.
like sacrificed every single second of family time to
Yeah.
reply and do it. And now I catch myself, and it's like, okay, I'm going to reply to that on Monday.
Yep.
Um, but then I'll get like a double message, and it's like it's Saturday, man. Just like
Yeah,
we'll be
exactly.
there Monday, and
Yeah.
off we go. But
Yeah. If the machine's down on a weekend and it wasn't on Friday, then, you got to chill out and wait till Monday.
yeah, yeah,
But that's the thing though, it's part of the balance. Like I still love getting messages from guys that I've worked with before, and customers, and I love helping. And so do you. I
hmm
know you do.
hmm
It feels good, as trainers or as customers support individuals, I pride myself on when you ask a question, if I can answer it concisely with one text message and it solves everything, that's like a beautiful thing to me. That was a
that's right.
problem that was solved nearly instantaneously. Now someone's happy going about their day.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, you have to weigh that with, am I burning out from that?
Hmm.
At the moment, but, is that what AI is for? I don't know.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners can, as shop owners, can relate to this, right? Builders,
Hmm.
homeowners,
Oh,
designers,
definitely. Yeah,
Saturdays, Sunday nights. It never really
100%.
seems to end, and those boundaries are always challenging.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about on sites helping
On
people.
sites. Yeah.
Um, you do you still like them? Do you what is your feeling about on-site visits? Let's maybe start with what are the perks of actually being on site with somebody that you don't get when you're remote? Like if somebody's thinking about, bringing someone in, let's say, what do you get on site that you don't get on Zoom?
Yeah, great question. So there are some individuals that they just learn better when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't learn through a Zoom call, or 1 or 2 hours isn't enough. So got to make a whole day of it. And I think that some of the best experience that I'm able to give actually comes with the CNC operator, whoever's operating the CNC. So I'm not gonna get down and start working on your CNC with you, but I will show you some tricks that took me 5 years to learn, the nuggets, right?
Yep.
On, how to keep your sheets down, how to keep parts from moving, this, that, and whatever else. And and then it's implementing new libraries, right? So whether it's miter folds or closets or frameless or inset cabinetry, sometimes it's just better if you were a table saw shop, or and you're new to CNC, on sites can be really good for that.
Yep.
But it can be
I
overwhelming too, so you have to make an agenda, otherwise
Yep.
there's just too much information.
Oh, it goes
So
anywhere if you don't. Yep.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Hmm.
agree with you. I think the on site for people who are truly new um, are just such a huge benefit. I can think back to 50, 60, 70 moments where it's just like, actually, the one that always comes to mind is Steve Sturdivant,
uh,
West Washita. Uh, like that CNC showed up on a Friday. It was wired over the weekend, and I was there Monday morning at 7 a.m. And they don't know anything
yeah,
at this point,
yeah,
and they're like looking at this thing, and they put out a lot of work. So it's like to stop things to like learn this is hard to do, and that one worked out as good as anyone I've ever done. Like those 5 days were sick, and to see what
oh
those guys do now is awesome. So
yeah.
shout
Steve
out to Steve for that.
Steve's the man. I work with
Yep.
him now too every once in a while, and it's like they're
Yep.
they're killing it. It's awesome.
Do you
Yeah.
have any startup stories that come to mind that are just like that
So
made a big
pr
impact on you?
probably so a little background on my on-sites, right? So the reason why I still like to do on-sites, I do. I charge a little extra now because I don't want to do more than one every
Mm-hmm.
month or one every couple months, because it's so taxing for me. My personality is, all right, I sold an 8 hour day, and you've told me to, you're like, dude, I sell an 8 hour day, but I will stay for 12 or 13 hours. Like if we're having fun, which there's only been one on-site I didn't have fun on,
Mm-hmm.
then we are there, and I am there so we can complete our goal. So it is, and I barely look at my phone. You know how it is when you stay extra, they let you take some videos or something, whatever,
Yeah.
just
Yep. Yep.
having a good time. But it's yeah, if you do 3 or 4 days of 12 hours in a row, and it's not just
Dude.
normal training, right? It's like it
Yep.
is intense. So that's that's just how I do them. So maybe that's why I'm limiting them, because they kind of throw me off a little bit. But I still probably one of the best ones was with Connor Patton down in
Mm-hmm.
down in Austin.
Yep.
So he got to use Shop Saber and with a drill block, and they're doing very high end custom, right? All
Mm-hmm.
on a slider, lots of grain match, lots of 1/4 inch edge banding. That's kind of a joke, but for Connor. But
Yeah.
anyways, so when the CNC came into the picture, they had already been using, I think, a shop bot here and there just for some random
Okay.
random things. So it wasn't completely new to them, but that, like the shop saver compared to the shop bot, and just now using Mosaic, it just, I mean, it transformed them really quick. And he
Yep.
had his right hand man, Dave. It was just, he was soaking it up like a sponge. It went really well. And those are the good ones, where it's everyone's
Yep.
on the same page about the construction method. We don't have to, we're going to change some things, but they were okay with changing a whole bunch of things all at
Yep.
once, which you don't always
Well,
see,
you
right?
don't always see, and that's huge. Like I've ran into a couple where, you know, get paid a good chunk of money to come fly out for a week and like really just do the best you can. And you just run into a wall of people
Yeah.
who don't want to like, and you end up breaking through, right? Because you kind of get it piece by piece and they end
Yeah.
up being successful weeks. But
Hmm.
the ones that are ready to just like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah. If the
you've
culture
seen 100
supports it.
shops do, yeah. Well, you've seen 100 shops do this. What worked, what didn't? Let's do it. And
Yeah.
it's the best attitude.
Yeah, it is.
That's actually what happened at Steve's. I remember, I don't know if it was day 1 or 2, but they were not using rear mounting brackets for drawer guides.
Yeah.
They were, building things. And I said, I'll tell you what, guys, like if you go to 1/2 inch backs, because they were still using quarterbacks,
Hmm.
they were already using 1/2 inch for door boxes. I said, we'll nest it all together. It'll be beautiful. And then we can do rear brackets. And I just remember all those shop guys, everyone just so skeptical. No one thought there's any way that this would always line up with your face frame openings. And I still remember that first cabinet, everything clipped in, and those guys just kind of look at each other and they look at me and they're like, all right,
Yeah.
we believe it now. We're bought in. We get it. And
Yeah.
I think they're still doing that to this day. And they had been doing it the other way for,
Doing a lot of
since they
frameless
started
now
business.
too.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
awesome to see.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't think frameless works everywhere, West Monroe, Louisiana is now doing frameless cabinetry. So it works
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's pivot a little bit. I'm sure you've had some time in V14 now,
Yeah.
a little. What are your early thoughts with some of the big changes that have come up?
I feel like, V14 is actually pretty cool. The rendering is maybe not, I mean, it's beautiful. It's pretty epic actually. But the render maybe wasn't like the first thing on everyone's list for an upgrade, but I think for
Mm-hmm.
the shops that it helps, it really helps. You could
Yep.
spend less time in SketchUp basically, or layouts or whatever. Um, rendering is cool. The material templates. So I think that basically my favorite feature from that is before when you changed a material, you had to change your global material template basically. So you'd affect all
Mm-hmm.
these other jobs. But now you can just isolate one part type per room.
Yep.
It's like a pretty beautiful thing. As far as being overwhelming, there was it it adds a bunch of features. You don't really have to interact with them.
Right.
Besides maybe material templates is a little different. But if you want to just pretend you're still using 13, you can almost kind of do it still. You
Yeah.
know, it's totally fine. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. For the closet guys and a lot of the slab guys, those dynamic materials are pretty sweet.
oh yeah, it's really nice. Yeah,
Yeah. You've gotten into a lot of closets recently as well.
I
You've got
have.
a
Yeah.
closet library now that's
Hmm.
available for Mosaic users. That's pretty tricked out.
Yeah.
I've seen it a little bit. What got you down that rabbit hole, and why do you think the small shop world should jump on the closet train?
Yeah, so I got down the closet rabbit hole because, well, yes, I sell downloads and all that, and like what's like the holy grail of downloads is a library, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are not many things that you can actually sell a whole library for that is, okay, here's your package, here's exactly what you need to buy, here's how you have to do it, go make money. There's
Yep.
always, you could do it this way or that way, or there's 50
Well, yeah,
ways to do it.
especially in cabinetry, right? Nearly impossible
Yeah,
in
in
actual
cabinetry.
cabinets,
Yes.
right? Which is why you don't see cabinet franchises; you see closet franchises, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
To your point. So
Yeah, because you can define it. And, I started getting into it with Eric Marshall, who is like the closet guru, right? That's
shout
his
out
one of
Eric.
his titles. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's a ton of fun. He knows a lot about closets. And then I kind of built up this library and I started branching out a little bit, right? Because yes, there is one way to do it, but what about the wall hanging cabinets, and what about the flush toe? What about the plywood drawer boxes instead of all metal? So there's
Hmm.
there's some there's some things in there where I just wanted a single solution for the guys that are wanting to get into closets, they're okay with full line bore, modular, and shared panel, half
Mm-hmm.
overlay.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things can be changed, right? Of course, but out of the box, this is the way, right?
Yeah.
So
Then essentially what that is then how closet franchises and some of these people who have been very successful in closets are
yeah,
currently building,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and the closet library's been very fun, as you know, just making products for, download for Mosaic it's so nuanced, right? It's
Oh yeah.
just you want to make it so that it works for everybody. It never will, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll be damned if you're not going to try, right? So
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like making downloads kind of follows this weird trajectory where your first product you think you're pretty good at Mosaic, you make this
yeah.
thing and it's okay,
Yes.
and then your second product you're feeling so good about yourself because the first one was okay, and then
Hmm.
uh, you think this is like the pinnacle of this magic thing, and what you realize quickly is that thousands, 200 people have to use this item in their own situation, not the way you had envisioned it when you made it.
Mm.
And I feel like you then like hit this low where you're like, man, I like didn't think about all of these things that people are going to
Hmm.
need,
Yeah.
parameters I should have added, all of this stuff. And then I feel like the second and third generation of items you make are just like, you know, as good as they
Miles
can be
ahead.
based. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel that way? Do you feel like you kind of rode this like roller coaster of, um,
Oh, yeah, 100%. I feel like that about the banded filler library. Like that thing needs like a refresh, right? But then,
yeah,
then you go miter folds, then you go closets, and it's it's funny because you look back 6 months ago and you're like, wow, I thought I knew so much. And
hmm,
then you put 200 hours into a library and you're like, wow, I know a lot more,
yep,
right?
yep.
So,
And I
yeah,
think
there's
that's, hearing you say 200 hours, I'm guessing, do you feel like you've got that in the closet library or more?
easily.
Yeah. So when
Yes,
people look
easily.
at it and they see all the items in it, like you just got to
Hmm.
know, like these things don't just get made, you know, in a day.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
quite the undertaking.
Yeah, and definitely, and it can all be made on your own too. It's just a matter of, how
Hmm.
much time you have to put into something and what direction you want to go with things. So that's one of the beautiful things about Mosaic is they do make it easy to just, do whatever you want.
Yeah. Speaking of that, uh, one of the things I wanted to ask you is what is on your Mosaic wish list?
Um,
What would you like to see in future versions?
so I'm really, I'm obviously huge into MDF doors and panel tool groups, right? So
Yep,
my big thing is I want user parameters in the door library. That's the
I
hill I
see.
hopefully won't have to die on because somebody is going to do it for me at some point.
Did you bring this up to them at AWFS?
Yeah, of course. I bring it up
Good.
to I bring it up to Grant and um, Matt Wallace and whoever else will listen to me. Sometimes
Yeah,
Michael, I'll just like, say something.
yeah, yeah. I can see
But
how that would be useful for sure.
yeah, it's a bit selfish because I love spending time in the door library, but it's one of those things where, if you consider the things that we want to happen in Mosaic, and then you talk to the development team, they're like, "Well, did you think about this, 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 and this that has to change at the same time?" Sorry,
Hmm.
bud. It's gonna have to wait.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's always more to it.
yeah.
Um,
You don't have anything on your wish list, do you? Because you don't, you know,
um,
you crack open Mosaic ever anymore?
no, God, man, it's been like a year or more. I would say I've been in it maybe 15 times in the last year and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so not really. I had a very long one, and not and just like you said, there's kind of selfish things that you
Hmm.
know 0.2% of the user base would appreciate and care about. But
Yeah.
no, I think the big one for me was just get me a formula button everywhere. If there's a field,
Yes.
get me the button.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you just run
Yeah.
into some random spots where it's like, man, I really need a formula here, and it just kind of. So I'm glad to see it now in like the shape tab and other things like that. But
Mhm.
that was the one that got me for the longest time.
Yeah.
But so again, something most normal users wouldn't really run into. They weren't making
Mhm.
weird products. But
Yeah.
I think we should pivot for a second.
Yeah.
And
Let's
I
do
think
it.
you and I should share some horror stories.
In what regard?
In on-sites,
Uh,
moments, things that are just, we don't have to name who they are, but
uh,
things you learned from. I'll start. So we'll break
okay.
the ice here.
All right.
My first one ever. This would have been, let's see, October of 2021. It was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I didn't ask enough questions. I knew kind of what we were getting into and that this was a new
Mhm.
CNC user. But what I didn't know is that the machine had never been on. And so I got there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
First morning, realized that
Amazing.
this thing didn't have dust collection ray into it. It didn't it was just literally dropped off of a,
Oh. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I told him I wasn't really a tech. I'm not a tech. This is not what this is about. Yet I felt like there was this expectation that I was like going to help him set this machine up like from scratch.
Mhm.
Um, and so like day one was literally just trying to get this thing on, and we got it on. And I'm not going to name the brand. It was an import brand, not a big deal, but all of the airlines burst. And so now I'm here on my first on-site ever with a machine that's all of its airlines just burst. This guy felt like he was maybe already over leveraged, right? And you just watch this
Mhm.
big investment like explode in front of his eyes. He paid me a bunch of money to be there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, I had no idea what to say or
Mhm.
do, and that was the first one ever. So the way that one ended was nothing ever got cut that entire week. That machine, he was up all night talking to China, trying to get it figured out. And I'd show back up in the morning and he hadn't slept. So, of course, he wasn't listening to me. And
Yeah.
so we repeated that for 4 or 5 days. And I I didn't know what to do. And
Yeah.
so that was the first one ever. That was my foray into on sites.
Yeah.
God, what a nightmare. You have any that bad?
It's always the first ones, right? Because, well, I mean, I have one. It would be too revealing to mention it. So it went fine, but it was too much. But
Yep.
that was my fault for getting involved with that. But the first couple, um, I got lucky on my first one because it was with Rusty and Terry Covey up in Wisconsin, and that
Yep.
was just like a 1 day with the shop saber, and it's it was fun to share my knowledge and go through Mosaic with them, and that went really well. But then one of the next ones, just your classic, didn't ask enough questions.
Mm-hmm.
That was with Randy Beard. Like it went well,
Yep.
but I got so lucky that we were able to spend 2 hours tramming that spindle, and he had tools on site, and he had enough tool holders because that was, I don't even think I asked him what tools he had,
Right.
to like cut
Yep.
out these door profiles. So yes, the first ones are a little bit painful because you don't ask the right questions,
Well, you
right?
don't know what to
Um,
ask. It's hard to, you
yeah.
try your best to literally think about everything in advance.
Mhm.
And then you just I didn't ask him if the machine's ever been on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
didn't even think to ask.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
make everyone cut a shaker door before I come out now. It's like, what are we working with here? Is there
yep.
Z-slop? Are there tram issues? Everything.
I don't
Okay.
think I've ever shared this. Um, So,
Yeah.
what's the number one rule about drilling on a CNC? Well, don't do it with a router bit, especially a compression, right?
Oh
Just don't
no.
do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, here I am. I'm in Washington, nice BSE machine. And we're setting up this hardware and they need to drill a 10 millimeter hole.
Hmm.
It's 2 holes. They don't have a 10 millimeter drill. And I'm like, all right, this is the last day. We
Two
literally have
holes.
to just two. We can make it
Yeah.
through two, right? Dude, spoil board just like started to go burnt. Like, and I knew it too. And this was
Yeah.
my tooling. I'm telling
Yeah.
people day in and day out, don't do this. And here I am. I'm like, we can make it through two, like just
Yeah.
to prove this hardware
Oh,
works, so we can be
definitely.
good, right?
Wow.
And we were actually doing the programming in a different building, so the operator calls and like, oh, there's smoke coming up from this hole, and we pull up the sheet, and the spoil board's black, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah.
so
Happens quick.
lucky
Hmm.
that and I just felt so dumb. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know this is not, and I'm just like, so that one was not my best work.
Yeah.
But so you've obviously been around a lot of new users, new in the CNC game.
Yep.
Um, what couple pieces of advice would you give to people that are just starting from what you've seen? Early pitfalls. How do you not make the same mistakes that everyone makes along the way? What
Man.
would you do different?
I think the biggest thing starts before you even buy your CNC, right? Like doing your homework on your CNC, right? Don't get got by a fancy marketing and like a good salesman.
Yep,
You have to get on the forums and you have to ask questions because and you have to read posts from everyone else that are asking the same questions because everyone asks
that's
that
right.
question, you
That's
know.
one of the most common questions for sure.
Yeah,
Yep,
definitely. And it's easy things are like, should I have a drill block or not? Should I do a 10-foot bed or an 8-foot bed?
yep,
It really depends on your goals. And that's the there's not really there's not too many cases where someone buys a CNC though and they're like, "Oh man, I can't do anything that I wanted to do with this." It
right,
always works, right? But if you're all of a sudden you want to get into cutting out 20 different MDF door profiles and you got a six tool changer, you got to have some serious tool set management and you have to have an operator that's not going to, you
right.
know, screw that up
Yep.
or, you know,
There
safety.
there have been a few moments where you say that your CNC will always kind of work for you, and it's kind of true. But there have been a few where a closet company bought a machine without a drill block. It's like, oh, that is
How did that happen?
that's
Yeah,
rough.
it's
That's a
tough.
that's a tough
Hmm.
oversight.
Yeah.
And then there was another one of the company that did a bunch of 5x9s
Hmm.
and bought an 8-foot machine, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
It's tough.
It's hard to
Hmm.
because you can't say like that's a huge mistake standing
Yeah.
right in front of them. But um, I think you're 100% right. There's a lot of homework to be done. There's a lot of great machines out there, a lot of good machines.
Hmm.
But to your point, they all can work in the right situation, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And
There's
it's,
there's a shop where a Pro 408 belongs in it, and there's a shop
hmm.
where a BSE Rover, AS belongs in it. That's just
Yep.
the reality, and you got to find where you fit in that. And I think you're right. You should trust the people who are selling to you, but you just have to ask. You have to ask the community. So
Definitely.
accessible. Hundreds and thousands of people have been through this process. Just listen to
Oh,
them, hear what they have to
100%.
say, and
And customer service is so important with those CNCs too, because when you're down, right? And you need help. So it's that's another good question to ask. Taking it with a grain of salt, right? Because some customers will have a bad experience with one company and then they'll hate
of
them
course,
forever. So,
that's right.
you gotta take it with a grain of salt. But if a company has a great track record for customer service and you might need a little more hand holding or you think, I'm gonna be asking questions, then buy a CNC where you can make that happen.
Hmm.
It's funny. I was talking to Scott from Anderson at AWFS,
Yep.
and I was asking it like super cool machines, right? The Stratus Pro and the Celix, like
Yep.
um,
Beasts.
rad. And I'm not trying to sell a CNC right now at all, but anyways, like I asked him about customer service, and he's like, "Yeah, it's good, right?" And but he said, "I'll tell you this too. We've had customers that they'll buy one, and we won't hear from them for 5 years because that speaks for itself, right? So it's very
Hmm.
interesting where you can go for customer service, but you can also go for is this thing industrial, and do I have a decent operator that's not going to crash it once a week? and can it handle a crash? Because crashes happen. Like
They do.
everyone has crashed their spindle. Well,
Yeah.
maybe a couple, but pretty much they're not telling you. Everyone's
Pretty
done
much
it.
everyone has had
Yeah,
a moment.
has had a mishap.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all my CNC related things, right? So yeah, customer service and features.
Yep. Yeah, I think the features are, it's just so important, especially in this day and age, to just do the research on it and
Yeah.
make sure. If you had to start a shop tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
would it go well?
Interesting question. So since I haven't owned my own shop before, I think that one thing I never wanted to do was deal with, customers, right? Homeowners. That was just something that, and it's interesting. Like I listen to some podcasts and read some books, and one of them recently that I was listening to is was talking about the six geniuses, six type of genius. And it's basically just saying this is what you're good at, this is what you're not. And you should stick to the things you're good at, but know you're going to have to do some of the things you don't want to do. But just knowing is enough to get you through it. I don't think knowing that would be enough to get me through working with homeowners. Like I actually I like the I like working with other shops. Like I love it at this point.
Yep. Because you
But
feel like you speak the same language, like you all
yeah,
have. Yeah.
but a model like Jason Baum's would be, I don't know, that's pretty fascinating, right? Like to be able to
Pretty.
just focus on production and keep things moving with your designers, like your designers feeding the shop because you have such a beautiful mosaic catalog that they can just drag and drop right out of there.
Yep.
That's another 10,000 hours of work in mosaic to create his
It is,
library.
but look at what he has now. I mean, the work
Yeah.
is paid off, and
Yeah,
yeah, that is
definitely.
a very epic, business model,
Yeah.
and
Oh, definitely.
I don't think it gets enough appreciation. Like that's such a,
Yeah.
it is so hard to do, right? To
Yeah.
just not install, bring on dealer lines, don't, no homeowner interaction. Like
Yeah.
that's what, honestly, it's like the sweet spot. A lot of shop owners want to get there,
Yeah.
and for some reason they just don't or don't even try. And he did, and props to him for that.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I feel like anyone with ambition and a little like self-control, I'll explain that, but anyone with ambition can get on those Facebook forums and create a successful business.
Yes,
Like it is, you know, gasoline
it
on a
is.
business. Like it's
You know
crazy.
who you know who comes to mind when you say that is Ethan in Connecticut
Oh
with
yeah.
Millcraft. Like
Yes,
just
beast.
started,
Yes.
did his research, invested in
Yes.
styles stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just a sponge. And to watch what that guy's already done in a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
2 years, I don't even know how long he's been in
So
business,
true.
but
So great
it's
example.
just like epic. And
Yeah, it is.
it's all because information is just so freely out there if you truly
Mm-hmm.
try,
Yeah,
and
it is.
yeah, it's awesome. What else do you want to talk about, man?
Well, I think a decent thing would be to talk about would be, how do we, we have the Facebook forum for learning about business and CNCs and all that, and how do we learn about managing our team or just leadership in general and just all these other things. And I think part of the reason why I'm able to do what I do now is because my philosophy has always kind of been like seek out a mentor. Like
Mm-hmm.
no matter what I'm doing, I have a mentor, right? So and it's not just a person, right? Or a good like well, I'll use an example, right? So my first cabinet shop, my manager was crazy, like so good at making cabinets, right? He could design and cut and, do build the whole kitchen faster than anyone else. But when it came to management, terrible. It just
Mm-hmm.
it was the opposite of what it was supposed to do. It just didn't make you feel good.
Yep.
And I almost, I had another mentor at the time, but I took that bad manager as a mentor, right? I learned so much from that bad manager, and that taught me a lot. about just working in general and managing others.
And it doesn't always have to be good experiences. It
Yeah,
can be,
exactly.
you know, a lot of oh yeah, like a lot of what I learned over time was things that I did the wrong way, things that I would totally do differently the next time
Yeah.
around. And I think those experiences are just as valuable, and in some cases more valuable
Hmm.
than if you just always magically did the right thing every day, right?
Oh
You
yeah,
just
definitely.
um,
You gotta fail once in a while,
yep,
or a lot.
or a lot, and pretty epically sometimes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
definitely.
it's the name of the game.
Yeah, there's one podcast in particular that I used to listen to like all the time. It's called Coaching for Leaders by
Okay.
Dave Stachowiak. Epic. Like he's got over 700 episodes now, but I learned that podcast motivated me more to just to learn about people and myself and what I was doing. It's 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 great. It's more geared towards a corporate environment once in a while, but you can
Yeah.
extract whatever you want from it.
Yep. Coaching
It's
for
cool.
leaders.
Coaching for Leaders. It's a great
Yeah.
one.
I'm gonna
Um,
check that out.
Definitely. And then as far as I'm just gonna throw out some nuggets here if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So another book, a couple books, we hear about like lean manufacturing, and
Mhm.
all the time. And there is a book called Lean Thinking, which is pretty good. It's a little dense, but the better one that Bill Forsyth mentioned to me at AWFS, and I can't believe I hadn't heard of it, but it was the Toyota Way,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Epic. Like I listened to that, I learned 10 times as much as I did from Lean Thinking.
Yep.
And great book. And one more would be Good to Great by I think it's Jim Collins or something. Like though the things you learn in there you can apply to. I work primarily with 1 to 20 man shops, mostly
Mhm.
1 to 10, right?
Yep.
And you can apply it for a 1 man shop or a 3 man shop. It's just the
For
things
sure.
that we're not exposed to normally because, we don't just don't think about these things, leadership in general or lean manufacturing. It just,
Yep.
pick up a book or, there's other guys out there teaching these things. So
Yeah, I think that's
it's
a good
pretty
point. I
cool.
mean, it's not that as you scale and you get to 50 people, 100, 500 people, it's not
Hmm.
that you don't develop some different problems. You certainly do.
Yeah.
But in general, they're just bigger versions of the same problems that everybody else has.
Yeah.
So to your point, I think there's a lot to extract from those things. It's interesting about the Toyota Way. I'm going to butcher this story a little bit, but I was actually down near Mankato, Minnesota, in a shop. His name is Brandon Philzin. Philzin Custom Hardwoods, I think, is the name of the company. And I was down there helping him for one day, and a guy came in who I don't know the relationship he had with Brandon, but he used to work for Toyota, and we were talking about the Toyota Way for a half an hour while I was there, and how he was trying to help Brandon with all these things, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was the first time I had heard of it, and it is pretty eye opening, um,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just so interesting thinking about a lot of these things I haven't thought about in years.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I think we should end on this one. I've got the last thing on my list for you. What's next? What ventures are coming? Talk to me about AI if you're doing anything with it yet.
Oh man.
What can you share to the world? What does Phill Anton Consulting look like a year from now? 2 years from now?
Should I pull a Bobby Lewis and just smile when you mention AI?
Yeah, he did a good job at the non-answer on that one.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What?
What's next? Good question. So, yeah, I mean, bread and butter is like closet library and MDF doors. Like, I love that. I'd like to take the MDF doors a little further. Got some
Okay.
things potentially in the works, maybe, which would be cool. But
Some nice
yeah, it's
foreshadowing you've done there. It's good.
yeah, yeah, and then you have on my website I do like courses, right? So it's all stuff that I'm really good at, like CNC, machining and MDF doors and closets and all that. I just have videos on there because almost like the CADmate way, right? You got the CADmate videos that did a beautiful job. Um, you know, I think they're still current even though version 14 happened or the version it was made on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's core knowledge. So I'm looking to basically create foundational knowledge for like my products. So staying in my own lane. You know, Bill Mosaic has like a crazy amount of free great content through Mosaic, and you know, videos and everything.
Shout out Bill, the man.
Shout out Bill Mosaic. That's his last name now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those listening, he's the southern voice you hear in the Mosaic videos.
Yes,
if you're
that's
not
the
familiar.
man, the myth, the legend.
That's
for
right.
sure. Yeah, so I think I'll just keep going with the downloads and you know, working with shops and trying to maybe chill out on the on-sites a little bit, but it's just crazy, you know, the amount of exposure you get from what's it been 2 years, and I worked with almost 700 shops, I think now. So
Crazy, man.
it's just wild. All the ideas that get thrown around. I think the fun thing about being an entrepreneur is that, you know, you have 100 ideas a day, and you have to learn to just follow one of them each month, right? Or each 6 months. You can't go after everything,
Yep.
even though it's all very
Well,
shiny and wonderful.
And get one of them like across the finish line. Don't start 100
Exactly.
things and get them 80% of the way there, which is my
Yeah.
problem, right? That's the
Yeah. I've got 100% issue as well, but I do.
Yeah.
You're right. You have to put emphasis into that to keep things alive, you know, because those they start to weigh on you, all the 99s and the 90%.
Oh man,
or
I
the
don't even
40s.
get into the 90s though. I get to 85 and the next shiny object comes up and
yeah,
you're
definitely.
like a raccoon, grab any shiny thing that comes my way.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, man.
Yeah, man,
I have to
definitely.
say, watching you kind of take this and run with what you've done and seeing what you've done over the last 2 years is very cool to see. I think one of my, I've got a few friends in life who have taken the leap and started their own thing and ran with it. And honestly, it's probably the most fulfilling thing to see. And so I'm glad to see you doing well. And it's been awesome, man.
Yeah, this is crazy. 2 years ago, that phone call in Chicago, and now this, just like unbelievable.
It is a wild ride. That's actually when I was recording with David Carr. That came up multiple times. We both just kind of shook our heads. Like the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years have just been absolutely wild. Yeah. So it's cool to have you a part of it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again when you can talk more about AI someday. And
definitely.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
All right.
Talk to you soon, Phil.
All right. Talk to you later.
See you, man.